Good evening. Welcome to Orr's Island Library's first Thursday presentation. We are grateful to have Melinda Richter, founder and owner of Island Candy Company. Tonight, Melinda will be presenting How to Pair Chocolate, which I know we're all looking forward to. Before we begin, Melinda, I wanted to share something with you. When we walk into your store, we are greeted with your warm smile and your friendly hello, and also, how can I help you? And it's all the while we're enveloped with the baking smell of chocolate, and that does lead us to buy chocolate. So
Thank you.
I remember asking you why you had a candy store, and you said that you had always wanted one.
Yeah.
Well, I came across an article which shares more of your story, which I'm not going to share.
All right.
So, Melinda's dream about an old-fashioned candy store stemmed from her memories of childhood. She has the fondest memories of visiting a local candy store growing up. Everything from the taste of their peanut brittle, to the penny candy and the smells while they were cooking. As an adult, she missed those memories and wanted the local children to have similar experiences. With no prior candy making experience, she began the journey, and through a lot of trial and error, she perfected her skills and opened her store in 2000.
Wow.
Melinda has turned a childhood memory into a reality with an old-fashioned feel, bringing out the confectioner in all of us. And thank you, Melinda.
Thank
It's all
you,
turned
Leanne.
out
That's
to be well.
wow. And that was all true. When I was a kid, it was Orr's Island Candies. A lot of you remember it. With Mrs. Sylvester and Mrs. Williams. And it's actually started on the grassy road. The little sign is still up there. But I remember going in there and just the smells and the ladies in the back with their arms and the chocolate bowl.
Right.
And then the last memory I have of being in there, I think my daughter Jennifer was 37. I think she was an infant, and I had come home to visit my grandmother, and I said, Nana, would you babysit? I'm just going to go for a walk. Well, what I did was I went to the candy store and bought a half a pound of candy and sat and ate the whole thing, and then I went home. That's what I did. That was the last time I was there. Yeah. And then my other memory is a Dowdy store beside the post office. I just remember that candy counter and the brown paper bags, and Mrs. Dowdy, you pointed to it, and I just, I had fond memories of her. And then ice cream was across the street at the Green Anchor. And if you went in there, you would just smell there were two counters, and the ice cream was in the back, and a metal flip freezer. But Pauline and her brother and probably her mother used to make all the things on the side, and there were pine boughs and wooden dolls and knit mittens, and so it's all those smells. And when the doors slam at the Green Anchor, I remember that distinctly. You had to step up a little bit, but that door slamming, the screen door, I just have so many. And then you went in the back, and Pauline, if you wanted a popsicle or an ice cream, she'd flip that metal freezer cover off, and I just remember the sound of that hitting.
Wow.
Just all those things that we remember. Yeah. So I think that we're going to kind of do Chocolate 101 is what we're going to do. And I made myself a few notes. I consider myself a candy maker, not a chocolatier. I don't really know the science. I don't make fancy swans. not everything looks perfect. I have a lot of failures. So I don't consider myself a chocolatier at all. Just don't know the science of it. I don't really care. You kind of get the feel, you just kind of know, but I don't know the science of it. So I want to talk about how chocolate starts. So chocolate starts in a cacao tree that's in the equator, close to the equator, and it's at low elevations. Thanks, but it's at low elevations. they're harvested supposedly twice a year, and primarily on the Ivory Coast in Guyana, but some in Mexico, Nigeria, Brazil, the Philippines, Madagascar, where you get vanilla bean from. There's supposedly in West Africa 1.5 million cacao farms there. And we don't, you know, Calabo, this is the chocolate we use, is a sustainably harvested, which means that, as we all, the farmer, it's a fair trade. The farmer gets paid fair, and so that's really important to us, but it is not organic. So some candy stores actually get the cacao, and they do the roasting themselves, and they do the grinding themselves. We don't do that. There's a difference, I think, between a fine candy store, a fine chocolate store, and a candy store. You know, if I just did chocolate, maybe I'd learn to grind my own and roast my own. But, you know, we have so many other things that, you know, that doesn't really matter to me. A lot of, you know, there's some candy stores too that are all vegans, dairy-free, nut-safe. We're not that at all. It makes me feel bad sometimes when somebody comes in the store and they've got an allergy like that, but we just can't accommodate it because we're, no. Cacao it's about the size of a football, and when you open it up, there's about 30 to 50 of the pods inside, the cacao pods. They take them and they're about the size of an olive, and they ferment them, and then they dry them, then they roast them, and then from that they'll take the nib out, which is the actual chocolate part. They'll take the nib out, and then from there they'll decide what they're going to do with it. They grind it into a paste, and they get a cocoa liquor out of it, but they can also take that liquor, the cocoa liquor or liqueur, out of it and put it under pressure and discombobulate it. I don't know the exact process, but that's how they get cocoa powder out of it. And then out of that they'll get the cocoa powder. They also get cocoa butter, which is actually dairy-free, but that comes out of the roasted, fermented bean. And then from that, they'll take it and they'll do their grinding with it. They'll there's different formulations. Like a dark chocolate is going to be has the cocoa mass or what's left over after it ground, and it will then the dark chocolate will just have that. Some formulations with some companies will be a little bit different. They'll add a sugar or a butter to it. Most fine chocolates, really good chocolates, will, in the dark category, will always be dairy-free. Some not so fine chocolates will have the milk powder added to it. They also do a LEC-THIN, whatever that, I can't remember. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, to make it more fluid. But dark chocolate falls into a category of several things. It's not just one thing. Dark chocolate is a semi-sweet, which is like we're used to it's what we use at the store, this. It's a semi-sweet. It's also like Hershey's chips or semi-sweet. That's actually a dark chocolate. So that's just the cocoa mass with a little sugar, maybe a little butter. Like I said, everybody's got their own formulation. But it's also, so semi-sweet, it's bittersweet, falls in that same category. It's extra dark, and it's unsweetened. And the percentages, if you go to a fine chocolate, and I'll pass this around. This is a dark chocolate. It says 54.5%. So that means 54.5% of this block is just that processed chocolate. And then the other percentage is added in other ingredients. Could be you know, it could be sugar, it could be flavorings. But we get our chocolate through Calavo, and they make it in two ways. This is the block, and we also do, they can also do these discs called Calais. Now I do the blocks because they're easier to store. The Calais, of course, are littler, they're more bulk in a box. They'd be easier to work with, of course, but they're harder to store. Could you pass one out to everybody? So here you have milk, dark, and white chocolate. Of all of Calavo chocolate, the here, I'll pass this around. If anybody wants to look at the ingredients, on the back of these blocks too, you'll also see instructions on the back. So a good chocolate, you should always be able to look up the instructions. It'll tell you the heating, how high you have to heat it, the crystallization, which means how long you have to drop the temperature, and it will tell you the ingredients, like I said, and it'll also tell you the percentage. So I'll start as over here.
If it's a really dark chocolate, say, you buy one that says 60% or 70%.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Is that it's 60 or 70% of the little bits, and nothing else added to it?
Yeah.
Right.
It could be a combination of things.
So when it gives you that percentage, it's telling you how much actual chocolate mass is in that
Okay.
chocolate. And then other things might be added. Yeah.
Can I buy a block of this?
Yes, you
For
may.
you?
Yes, you may.
For the
Yeah.
library?
Yes, you may. Yeah.
Melinda.
It's in the budget.
Oh,
We have a problem.
what's Timothy's, oh, yeah, Tim.
Oh, you want that
Well,
back?
Yeah, I think there's a standing order that he gets, first on his way
Oh,
home.
so these are different,
Times.
this is,
Yeah.
33
So
Oh,
when you buy a chocolate,
Dark block.
like I can buy a Calavo chocolate that's a higher percentage.
Right,
And I've done it before, but I find it much more difficult to work with.
so as you get higher, it's stiffer or not, doesn't
It's
take longer
stiffer,
to melt?
you know, it's like an old pot in your house, you get used to an old friend.
Right, that's.
So these percentages, you just kind of get used to what it is. But yeah, I've worked with a higher percentage of it. Doesn't mean the flavor's any better,
No.
and it actually doesn't mean that it's a better chocolate.
Right.
It just means that it's got
It's a
less.
different,
Yeah, it just means it's,
You
but
want-
I don't really care for the higher percentages.
it tends to get
Can I pass that
a
back?
little more bitter, doesn't it?
Would you like to see that? Anybody? Sure.
Ow, do you think it gets a
Let
bit
me
more
know.
bitter? Or is it
So
just-
as the percentages go higher, it gets more bitter.
Yes,
Yeah, I just,
chocolate.
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
as well.
I just really like the couverture. The couverture's where it's the shiny part and the
Yes.
crisp part. I just find a better product. I've become friends with this particular one. It's just,
It's your friend.
it's my friend.
I get it.
So, like I said, unsweetened pure chocolate is 100% chocolate. There's no additives to it. And then an extra dark, which is really not very sweet, it's a little bitter, is between 86 and 99% of all the chocolate parts. And then bittersweet is usually between 70 and 85%. I don't cook it all with that. I just, there are some recipes for it, but we just adapt for it. And then the semi-sweet, can it be anywhere from 50 on up? Of course, milk's a little different. Milk has the cocoa mass, it has sugar or vanilla, whatever you want, but it also has milk powder added to it. So like I said, a really good dark chocolate will be dairy-free, but a milk chocolate, it has a milk mass in it, so it's not going to be dairy-free. And there are certain USDA standards for chocolate. White chocolate doesn't meet any of those standards, but it still has chocolate in it. It has cocoa butter in it. So it's still considered a chocolate, but it has no, I don't even know if there's a percentage in it. Oh, 28% in this one. I didn't have a white block to bring. But, so it's a 28% in this one of cocoa solids. And there's really no right or wrong chocolate. It's whatever I just started using Calavo from the beginning, and I just said, I'm not switching, that's it.
Do you buy these from a distributor, they
Mhm.
deliver it, or you have to
Yeah.
go get it?
No, I usually get it from a distributor in New York, and they're pretty great, but I found during COVID, I couldn't always get it from everybody. So I found Native Maine in Portland that actually has it at a comparable price.
Oh.
But they have it less, so I always go to Native Maine first, because they deliver twice a week to the shop, and then, and if not, I go to Primark, I call them, and they deliver next day from New York, which is
Oh, wow.
bizarre to me. But neither place always has everything anymore. With COVID, they just don't. So melting chocolate, on the back of these, it'll tell you the melting number. So the heating number, this one is oh, I don't have any glasses. Good gosh. I know, it's okay. This says 50 centigrade. What I do, because everything at sea level is a little different too. So what I do is there's a couple different ways to do it. You can get, what I do is a good old fashioned double boiler, is how I've always done it. You could get there's a heater melter that you can put it in for overnight and just set a low temperature and stir it in the day. Or they have tempering machines, which I've never had, but you know, that when you put the chocolate in and set the machine, and when you go the next morning, it's all been tempered already. Temper means that the chocolate is shiny and crisp, and it means that the molecules are back where they are supposed to be. When you get a block of chocolate, it's already tempered for you. But then you have to heat it, so it's going to come out of temper. And then you have to let the temperature drop so that it goes back in temper.
What does temper mean?
Well, temper's kind of the process that you get to snappy and shiny. So this I heat up as little as I can. My daughter Jennifer does it in the microwave, which freaks me out, but
Yeah.
she's been doing it for a long time. But every time she does it, I have learned to say over the years, I can't say anything anymore, because she makes it work. But if you want to do it any chocolate in the microwave, you put it in, you put it on for a minute, stir it, put it on for a minute, stir it. And then when you almost think it's done, take it out and stop it. If your chocolate's ever too hot too, you can do, seed it. So you would take the chocolate, when it comes out of the microwave or off the pot, if it's too hot, you'll just throw some in, it seeds it, and it remelts it, and you stir it.
When you use a double boiler, do you do chunks or do you do shaving?
No, I don't do, good question. So, Martha Stewart shaves it. She takes it like this and she just shaves off chunks. I don't have the hand strength for that, to do it in chunks like this. So, although you can, it's a lot easier with a milk chocolate that's softer or a white chocolate. You can do that. I use a chipper,
Oh.
which is
That's
an
what I saw you using.
yeah, I use an ice chipper, and we've gone through many over the years, and this brand is the best, I think.
What is
Let's
it?
see what happens. This one is called, it's a bar one for ice. Can't remember the name of
I
it.
love a good ice.
And then we use a good old mallet, and that's what we do. And I don't do it anymore because I have hands that aren't happy, so mostly the kids who work for me do it. But they just chip it, you know, they chip. And we try to get pieces that are, you know, like the size of that. And then I start a few in the double boiler, and then I start them in the double, you know, keep adding and adding.
You try to keep it to a small amount rather than get too.
Well, the biggest bowl I have, because I get distracted with waiting on people, is probably this big. Which is kind of a pain in the patootie, because you'll get it in the right temperature, and then you get distracted, or
Customer comes in.
or a fly goes by, and you get distracted. And then it goes out of temper, it goes to the wrong,
But you can keep reheating it then.
you can keep reheating it. I never throw out any chocolate. Like, if this chocolate were at the shop, I would scrape it up, like that, and put it back in the bowl. Because you can remelt it unless it's seized. Now seizing chocolate
I've done that.
is when some moisture gets to it or the temperature gets too high. So say you're making something with chocolate and you need to flavor it. Now we would all just put in a flavoring, but you can't. You have to keep it away from water and you have to use an alcohol-based flavoring. They make those little dram bottles with flavoring in them, but I'm like, why? Really, like, why? So I just use, we use a lot of alcohol in the shop, and so I just use that. It's not very much, and it's considered part of the liquid that goes into it. But if you seize chocolate, you can try to get out of it, but you might as well just kind of give up. It's sad, and
It is sad.
but you can't really get out of it. But never put water with chocolate. Never put, always use something that's alcohol-based for flavoring. You'd never use imitation vanilla or, no matter what you add to chocolate, unless it's like an alcohol, it's gonna seize a little bit.
Like
But
butter or something.
yeah,
you add
But
butter.
seizing looks like mashed potatoes, like scrambled eggs. It just gets that tight granule.
Yes.
It's just really difficult to get out of. It just,
Yeah.
but when you add anything to chocolate, it's gonna get really thick for a while, and while you're stirring, and you're gonna think, oh my gosh, what have I done now? But it will come out of it eventually. If you're gonna do like a truffle, it's usually, a truffle is cream or a milk base. Some people use butter and a flavoring, or not. You don't have to use a flavoring. Truffles we do in molds like this, most of the truffles. So this mold, we will make the truffle base. It's usually about 8 ounces of chocolate to about a third of a cup of liquid, your milk or your flavoring. Although, if it's milk chocolate, you're going to need a little less liquid because that's a more fluid chocolate. If it's white chocolate, you need even less. But truffles you can really experiment with. We have a truffle that we use almond milk, so it's dairy-free, and a little amaretto. But you can really experiment. And if it's too thin, you add a little more chocolate. And if it's too thick, you add a little more of your milk base. Just stir it up. And some people use multiple chocolate flavors in a recipe. It's all what you like. And so this, I would melt the chocolate. It would be tempered, so it would be, I bring it up to about 100 degrees, 103, melt the chocolate, let the chocolate drop down to about 86 degrees, and I'll hold it at 86 by on the pot, off the pot. If I ever get a tempering machine, it'll do it for me, but I'll hold it to about 86 degrees. I'll pour the chocolate in, I'll tamp it like that, and then I'll dump the chocolate out. And then I'll take a spatula and do that. If it's cold in the shop, I'll just leave it out on the stone table. If it's not cold in the shop, I'll pop it in the freezer. The problem with putting chocolate in the freezer is you have a condensation. So if you are going to put chocolate and you want a smooth finish, I always have to put parchment over the shelf above so the freezer doesn't get condensation. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Way too many. So then you would have a shell, and then I would put the truffle filling in there and squash it down, and then I would put another layer of chocolate on the top and tamp it down and then scrape it off again like that. And then if you've tempered it correctly and all your temperatures are right, you'll put this back in the freezer, let it set, and then it should come out. And it should be reflective. In a dark chocolate, you can see yourself in the mirror on it. In a perfect world. I know. This is another mold that we use. This one you would do the same thing. You would pour your chocolate in, tamp it down, dump it out, freeze it, put whatever filling you prepared in there. You could put a truffle in there too, or a cream, or whatever you choose to. Then you would do the same thing. You would put a layer over the top, tamp it down, and take it out. And if everything's right, it'll pop right out for you. But I use these a lot because I like them. I use these because I like the shape. This is like $1.65, and this is like $30. But I will say this will last you forever. These break. But it really has to do with what interesting design you find. This is another mold that I really like. This mold, they make those chocolate sheets that have the fun designs on them. And this is the one that you would put your chocolate in. No, that's wrong. Let me think that through for a second. Oh, that's the other side, okay. That's the one where you would put that chocolate, shiny chocolate sheet on here. You go like that, and it's an edible sheet. Put it there, then you'd fill in your chocolate, tamp it down, dump it out, put whatever filling in you want, and do the same thing. And when you dump it out, whatever touch this would have that pretty design on it. We don't do those, but I really like this one. I like the size of the holes, and I like the shape of it. I have a couple of these. This mold's probably like $35, but again, it lasts forever. And then there's these molds. Now you can do these molds for chocolate, but I find it a little floppy. This mold, but again, it's a small mold, so. But this one you can also do jellies with. You could shove something down like a peppermint patty or some kind of filling and shove it down and let it set a few minutes, or put it in the freezer and then just pop it out. You can also do cool ice cubes in it. But I've made jellies in these before in different shapes. But these are kind of fun. But I don't use them as much, but they do have some nice shapes of those. But those are fun for jellies, I think.
Do you use different ratios for the cover, the top essentially of the truffles in the molds to what you actually put in?
That's an interesting question. Usually when I do a mold, it's always the same thickness in this part, which you see sitting on a table. But the bottom is where I always not. Now my husband will come along and say, bottom's too thick, bottom's too thick. Like, okay, bottom's too thick. And he's right. I mean, sometimes you haven't pushed it down all the way. Sometimes you ran out of filling. You might leave it a little less. You want to put enough filling in so that it doesn't come up over the top, so that when you do this, it's flat. Yeah. But yeah.
Each different mold though, you sort of use the same.
I do usually on each mold. The part that you see will come out the same thickness. Yeah. It all has to do with too how cold or hot your chocolate is. Like if my chocolate is too cold, and I pour it in and I tamp it and do all the thing, and I look away for a second or I get distracted. Once I go back, it won't come out. Like I'll dump it upside down, it's too hard, it won't come out. But in that case, you just take it out and remelt it. So you never have to waste it. Yeah. So these are the thermometers. So this is a Cooper, but Taylor also makes them. But this is the thermometer that I use. And I only use one at a time because no thermometer is ever right. Now, like maybe in my working life, I've had 2 thermometers that have been right. And I don't know why that is. Some thermometers you can adjust. These particular ones you can't. But every time I get a thermometer and a new one, and probably once a week, at sea level, it's easy to see what your thermometer's off or boiling. So I'll just put a pot of water on, boil it, and it should read 212 on these. If it doesn't read 212, then I just adjust it. Then I think, I've got to make it 4 degrees hotter or 6 degrees under. And that's why I only ever use one thermometer at a time. I used to like have 5 thermometers going, and then it had little notes on them, and then the notes would get washed off, and I'd like, oh. And then there'll be times where I'll be using a thermometer like an old friend for a while, and then something won't come out, and I'm like, what the heck did I do? And then I'll test it, and it has changed. So that happens, but yeah, always check your thermometers. It's not hard, it takes 2 or 3 minutes, but you always have to boil the water, put it in. Now, if I were not at sea level, I have no idea how to do it. Like, I don't know.
So what varies with temperature, like when you're cooking?
Well, chocolate, this I wouldn't use in chocolate, but like fudges, you only cook to about 240 degrees, which is,
Like a soft boil?
yeah, soft ball.
Soft boil.
Brittles you do about up to like 305, which is hard crack. Jellies, if I cook jellies, you know, to cut and then enroll in chocolate, those only go up to about 238.
So give or take a couple degrees.
Yeah, but sometimes the couple degrees makes a difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. Sometimes you can fudge it. You can figure out how to fudge it. Some things you can recook too. Like there are some fudges, if I make a mistake, I've overcooked it, sometimes the force wasn't with me, or whatever it is, I can recook it. Like chocolate I can recook.
So did you coin the term fudge it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That'll cost you $10. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes it's a little forgiving, but everything, usually everything goes over 200 degrees, no matter what you're cooking. Like I said, brittles are like 305, English toffees are like 305. Peanut brittle, you just go by color. I don't know. I was so worried about making a good peanut brittle that I didn't have any for like the first 4 years at the store. And people thought that I was Orr's Island Candies, which that was Mrs. Sylvester and Mrs. Williams. That wasn't me. And so I wouldn't make peanut brittle because I had this distinct remembrance of what their peanut brittle tasted. And every time I made it, it did not taste like that. So about 4 years in, I finally found a recipe. I thought, I can do this. And it had a picture and it had a color, like a color chart. And so then I figured out how to do it from that. But it was a long time I didn't have a peanut brittle. And I'll tell you a funny story. Before I opened the candy store, I planned it for like 7 years. And I went down with my mom one day. The old candy store had closed, and we went and saw Mrs. Sylvester at the old candy store. And I said, I would really like to open a candy store. And I wanted to know if you would mentor me or help me a little bit, or and I said I would never take Orr's Island candy. That's not mine to have. And she said, no, dear, I won't. And I said, okay. And I asked, and she said no. She said, I always promised I would never give out any of the recipes, and I think it's too hard, and I think you have children, and I don't think you should do it. And I said, okay. She was honest. And then I made friends with the original candy store, Mrs. Richardson. I made friends with her. Yeah. I made friends with her daughter and granddaughter a long time ago. And so I was relaying the story to them because they still have the old recipes and they still have technique that they used to help their grandmother with. And I was telling the story about Mrs. Williams saying, no, Mrs. Williams had worked for Mrs. Richardson and then bought the business and moved it up to the main road. And I told them the story and they said that was part of the purchase agreement.
Oh.
So I didn't think she was lying, but I thought she was trying to let me off easy, but that was part of the purchase agreement. She was never to share the techniques or the recipes, and she kept that secret. So I still don't know.
Well,
Yeah, but
we don't believe in any of that.
No.
We're really sorry that happened.
well, it's fine because I'm friends with them now, and Mrs. Richardson's daughter and granddaughter, and they said when their mother unfortunately passes away, like we all do, that they'll share a few things with me.
Oh, so don't let your brother.
Jackie.
Jackie said she would share with me. So chocolate brands, there's really no bad brand. I certainly wouldn't make a really nice chocolate with a Hershey's. Several years ago, this woman, she had a client, and the client wanted, the client was a doctor. And she brought in she came in and she said, I want a bunch of little tiny lobsters like this. Well, I happen to have a mold with a bunch of little tiny lobsters. And she said, I said, fine, I can make those for you. And then, you know, if it didn't work out, I just throw them back in the pot. This was probably within the first 5 years. And she said, well, I don't want my client to have to pay for good chocolate. And so she said, I'll bring you the chocolate. Well, she went to Rennie's and got all of these candy bars that are still on the shelves at Rennie's. I'm sure it's fine chocolate, but once I started using it, I just couldn't make it work. I couldn't get the bubbles out, and so I sent her off with all this chocolate, and she returned it. And I gave her her money back. But her client didn't like it, that there were little bubbles in them. Well, and I should have said no. Yeah, if I couldn't make it work, but you know, you try.
True.
Let's see what else. So some of the great chocolate brands are like, I like Calabo, but there's also like Godiva, of course, and Ghirardelli and Valrhona. And the percentages too, there's no wrong percentage, there's no wrong chocolate brand, there's, you know, it's all according to flavor. Sometimes you could go buy the smaller chocolates and try them. Margaret, my daughter Margaret, she's gone to, you know, to a few other places, and she brings me back candy bars sometimes from different places. Hot chocolate, no. With spice in it, no. And she's bringing me back a lot, but I keep going back to this because this is just what works for me.
And where does it says it's Belgian chocolate?
Yeah. But it's crafted, I think that this is a Belgian company, but I think this one is crafted in Canada. Or it comes out, it's imported to Canada. And if you look at these, it's kind of fun, it's in all different languages.
Yeah.
Wait, somewhere on here it must say where it's made. But it's a Belgian company, a Belgian style chocolate. But I'm not 100% sure where they make it. Oh, yes, it's made in,
That's what
I can't read, I don't read Belgian.
I thought.
But anyway, it's made in Belgium. Yeah, but like I said, there's no wrong, there's no right, there's, you know, just what it is. Then, so this is for candy, fudge, brittles, making centers for things, like a buttercream center that is a fondant and you have to let it rest and then stir it. You wouldn't use this on chocolate. This is what I use for chocolate thermometer. They do have the ones that hook on the side of the bowls. This one, you can't really calibrate. They do have simpler ones that aren't electronic that you can turn the screw at the bottom and calibrate. But I like this one. It's electronic, it turns on, and it's pretty accurate. I won't say it's totally accurate, but I use this on chocolate, so I'll stir chocolate and I'll stick it in and see what temperature we're at. But you also go by feeling. So if it says, if it's a humid day and this says it's 2 degrees over my 86 or 88 degrees and it's really thick, I'll say I just need to do a little something different. It's got to be a little harder today because the barometric pressure or the whatever it is. So this is what I use, and this is Taylor. You just have to be careful not to get it totally wet. But I kind of like this one. It's electronic and, you know, that's that one. But they make all kinds of different ones. But this is the one for chocolate. I suppose you could use it for meat too. Yeah, but this is the one for candy itself. But yeah, I think that is pretty much our presentation. Let me see if I covered it all. I don't know if I said this, but a cacao tree can live 200 years, which is a long time. Oh, and I know, it takes 22 fruits, size of a football, to make 2 pounds of chocolate.
Wow.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Truffles, dairy-free. I think we've come to the end.
Thank you.
Yes. You are welcome. Thank you, everybody.